The Justice Department has responded to Donald Trump's attempt to get the Supreme Court to intervene in the criminal investigation of his stolen classified documents. And yet, even as that criminal case intensifies and more evidence emerges, Republicans are still fully on board with Trump and Trump's handpicked candidates like Herschel Walker, who is also dealing with more bombshell revelations in his abortion scandal. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The looming midterms have proven once again that the Republican Party still remains fully captive to Donald Trump and his cabal and key battlegrounds races across the country. The Republicans running for House, Senate, Governor, and even Secretary of State are pro-Trump MAGA candidates, and in many cases endorsed or even handpicked by Trump himself. And that's never good, because Trump always picks the weirdest people he can find, like Steve Bannon or the Pillow Guy or even his own lawyer, a man who sweats like he just got out of a sauna after sleeping there overnight. I had the weirdest dream where I was a 7-Eleven hot dog. You know the guy who wears golf shorts that go from his belly button down to his ankles? Like he accidentally bought a pair of child's khakis. Look at that dude. Looks like a 1920s newsie who got stranded on that beach that makes you old. Extra, extra. I forgot what I was gonna say. I can make fun of Rudy's giant shorts all day. For example, he looks like he's in a Disney movie called Honey, I Shrunk. But I am being told that I have to get to the point. All right, well, Trump's latest handpicked disaster is Herschel Walker, the GOP candidate for Senate in Georgia. Trump personally urged Walker to run, despite warnings from fellow Republicans, it should be noted, about Walker's troubled past. And sure enough, Walker is now engulfed in a growing scandal, which includes the latest revelation that the mother of one of Walker's children had to repeatedly press him to pay for an abortion he wanted. And much like Trump, Walker has tried to distract from the mounting scandals by doing and saying some very strange things. Yesterday, for example, Walker told this incredibly bizarre story about a bull and some cows at a campaign rally.
So I've been telling this little story about this bull out in the field with 6 cows, and 3 of them are pregnant. So you know he got something going on. But all he cared about is kept his nose against the fence, looking at 3 other cows that didn't belong to him. Now all he had to do is eat grass, but no, he thought something was better somewhere else. So he decided, I want to get over there. So one day he measured that fence up, and he said, I think I can jump this. So that day came where he got back. And he got back, and as he took off running, he dove over that fence, and his belly got cut up onto the bottom. But as he made it over on the other side, he shook it off and got so excited about it. And he ran to the top of that hill, but when he got up there, he realized they were bulls too. So what I'm telling you, don't think something is better somewhere else.
Kind of feels like a bad idea for Herschel Walker to be telling any stories about multiple random pregnancies, especially one where the expectant dad just pieces out like that. I don't even understand the logic here. A bull got 3 cows pregnant, then he saw some more cows on the other side of a fence, and so he jumped the fence to go have sex with the other cows, but then when he got closer, he realized the cows were actually bulls. Are you misremembering a Sandra Boynton book? Also, I want to revisit this part of the story.
This bull out in the field with 6 cows, and 3 of them are pregnant. So you know he got something going on.
He said that like it was gossip, like the cows were all whispering to each other while they were out chewing grass, just like, oh my God, did you hear Dottie, Clarabelle, and Buttercup are pregnant? And word is they're all Kennys. Well, can you blame them? Look at those eyes. Also, notably, there were 2 other Republicans on stage with Walker, Senators Tom Cotton and Rick Scott. They were there to show mainstream GOP support for Walker, even amid all the scandals, and I can't imagine they were hoping for that story. All right, Herschel, just stay on message and talk about tax cuts and inflation. Cool, yeah. Right after my cow sex story. Yeah, but maybe it's just better to focus on inflation, 100%, but I need to warm him up with the cow sex story. Herschel! So the GOP has once again made a devil's bargain with Trump and his MAGA movement. In fact, Mitch McConnell made the bargain explicit in an interview he gave to CNN yesterday. McConnell was asked if he has a litmus test for Republican candidates and said he doesn't care who the candidates are or what they do. He only cares about winning.
When I asked him, do you prefer Republican candidates who might be in the mold of Donald Trump or Liz Cheney, who battled Donald Trump's election lies, he said, I am for candidates who will win, and I don't have a litmus test one way or the other.
Trump versus Cheney, essentially asking Leader McConnell, which Republican Party would you prefer, Liz Cheney or Donald Trump? I don't have a litmus test. I'm for people that get the Republican nomination and for winning.
In a way, I appreciate the honesty. And I'm sure, as he said it, he was doing that creepy little smile he does. You know, like, he's in that new movie. McConnell and the GOP have made it clear they don't care how badly Trump and his cronies degrade our institution. They just want to win, so they're going to keep sinking lower. I mean, they'd support the bull from Walker's Story if they thought he had a chance to win. Oh, he explained himself. He thought the bulls on the other side of the fence were cows. Now, his belly's all cut up. We all make mistakes. The GOP is fully behind all these Trump-backed candidates who are also campaigning with Trump and appearing at his rallies, even as Trump remains under a serious federal criminal investigation into the highly classified documents he stole from the White House and stashed at Mar-a-Lago. In fact, the New York Times just recently reported that officials suspect Trump may still have even more documents in his possession that he is still not returned to the government, in addition to the materials the FBI has already seized from Mar-a-Lago.
New reporting by the New York Times, which NBC News has confirmed, reveals that the DOJ told Trump's lawyers in recent weeks they believe Trump still has more documents he has not returned to the National Archives. The New York Times reporting that it's, quote, the most concrete indication yet that investigators remain skeptical that Trump has been fully cooperative in their efforts to recover documents.
No, does the Justice Department suspect that Donald Trump may not be fully cooperative? That's like a guy with claw marks all over his face telling you his cat wasn't fully cooperative with its Halloween costume. Donald Trump not being fully cooperative with an investigation is as shocking as the Mets winning 101 games and then blowing it in the first round of the playoffs. And guys, that's it. That's it for Mets jokes this week. Am I a Mets fan? No, I am not. But a lot of the people who keep this show running smoothly every day are. And I will admit that over the course of this season, I started rooting for this Mets team. And sure, they didn't win it all, but it's pretty cool. They did as well as they did, considering that while other teams have giant payrolls, they made it work with a ragtag bunch of, what's that? Oh, they had the highest payroll in the league? Oh, okay. How much was it? $250 million. Oh, well, I bet whoever's inside Mr. Met is a hardworking young... Oh, it's Rudy Giuliani. Me. You guys, I said that was only a Mets joke I was going to make this week. You want to hear the real burn? I did it on Monday. We had to cut it for time, so the crew had to hear it twice. And one of the crew members came up to me today, and he's like, you're going to burn me twice and think I'm going to show up tomorrow and support you? And I'm like, well, the Mets have burned you more than twice, and you still support them. And then my crew member just tipped his cap. He said, they all wear, it's a really cool thing, they all wear little caps. Where were we? Oh, right. Of course Trump still has more government documents in his possession. He's not the kind of guy who's good at returning things. If Donald Trump borrows your lawnmower, you're gonna need to buy a new lawnmower. I bet the copy of Goodnight Moon he read his kids was stamped with property in New York Public Library. Now, before we move on, which one of those was harder for you to imagine? Donald Trump mowing a lawn all by himself, or Donald Trump reading Goodnight Moon to a young Eric and Don Jr.? In the great green room, and it was what a room, one of the greatest, one of the greenest. And just the most beautiful mush you've ever seen, just gorgeous. Gorgeous mush, gold-plated mush. You know why the cow was jumping over the moon? So we could get away from a horny bull? A football player told me that story. Point is, even after 18 months of pleading from the National Archives in an FBI search, officials think this guy might still be holding back documents that belong to the government. I can't even imagine the sheer sense of impunity entitlement you have to just completely ignore the law like that. One time a cop pulled me over on the highway, and I immediately just started sobbing before I could even roll down the window. And then he said he just wanted to tell me my trunk was open. And then I said, oh, thank you so much. That's where I keep all my meth, because I make jokes when I'm nervous. And then he didn't even look in the trunk. He just said, you don't have the balls to move, Crystal. Drive safely. Very rude. Very rude. Now, as we told you last week, Trump appealed a ruling in the case over his stolen documents directly to the Supreme Court, hoping the Trump appointees on the court would bail him out and intervened to slow down the investigation. It just so happens the appeal was addressed specifically to one particular justice with a personal connection to Trump.
Attorneys for the ex-president made an attempt to block DOJ's criminal investigation by asking the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse a ruling by an appeals court that gives the DOJ access to classified documents that were seized at Mar-a-Lago.
The justice overseeing the 11th Circuit, whose decision Trump is appealing, is none other than Clarence Thomas. Now, in addition to being arguably the most conservative justice on the court, Thomas is also the husband of far-right activist Ginny Thomas, who, in addition to pushing bonkers QAnon conspiracy theories to Trump White House officials, also personally worked to try and help facilitate Trump's attempted coup.
Trump must have been so psyched when he found out the justice who would review the case was Clarence Thomas. It's like finding out your mom started dating your high school math teacher. Hell yeah! I'm gonna ace this class. Doug is so horny for my mom. He told me I don't even have to show up for exams. I feel bad for Dad, though. Yeah, in that story, the kid's mom was still married. None of you thought about him. Everybody here should be ashamed of themselves. Well, now the Justice Department has responded to that filing with a filing of its own, urging the Supreme Court to stay out of the case altogether, telling the court Trump has no legitimate ownership of any of the classified documents under review.
The Justice Department sending a clear message to the Supreme Court: stay out of the Mar-a-Lago documents dispute.
The Justice Department asking the Supreme Court to reject Mr. Trump's request that the court clear the way for the documents to be turned over to his lawyers and a special master for review. The Justice Department says Mr. Trump cannot make any personal claim to the papers and has offered no evidence he declassified them.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious there's no reason the Supreme Court or any court should step in to delay the investigation because the classified documents are obviously not his. Do we really need 9 people in robes to tell us if this was just stuff he brought with him from home? Trump's acting like a guy who got fired and then tried to leave with a copy machine. You guys were all here on my first day. I had my tiny plant, my Wayne Gretzky bobblehead, and my industrial-sized copy machine. You remember, Barb? You helped me wheel it in. Remember, some of the documents Trump stole were nuclear secrets. Are we supposed to believe those were his and he just brought them with him from home? Like, before he was president, he was looking at aerial photos with a magnifying lens. Mel, I'm seeing some very interesting images from the drone flights I commissioned. Mel, you're gonna wanna see that. Mel, honey, you have to take out your AirPods. Well, you can't hear. No, why are you putting headphones? Mel, don't put headphones on over the AirPods. Oh, Mel. The various scandals engulfing Herschel Walker's campaign and the GOP's decision to stand by him no matter what are just the latest examples of how Trump has completely transformed the GOP. Even as he remains under multiple serious criminal investigations, they remain fully captive to Trump, a man who is much like Herschel Walker, constantly spewing
Bull.
This has been a closer look. The midterm elections are coming up, so to make sure that you're good to vote in this election, visit our good friends at headcount.org to check your voter registration status or to register to vote.